Good evening. This is a national emergency broadcast. Hurricane Iris has intensified to Category 5. Landfall expected within 3 hours along the Florida coastline. The screen flickered as rain battered the camera housing outside the station. Wind speeds had already crossed 200 miles per hour. Entire neighborhoods were evacuating. Highways were frozen in red brake lights. The sky above Miami was no longer blue. It was a rotating wall of black water and lightning. Inside NORAD's Coastal Operations Center, Commander Elias Ward stood over a digital map glowing with storm projections. Red spirals twisted toward the shoreline like a living thing. His voice was steady, but the tension in the room was not. Scramble coastal defense readiness. Keep air assets grounded until visibility improves. We fight the storm first. Then the radar shifted .A first. It looked like interference. Static bending inside the hurricane's eye. But the distortion held shape. Multiple shapes, moving against the wind. "Sir, we're detecting objects descending through the upper atmosphere," a technician whispered. Across the country, Dr. Lena Armitage stared at satellite data streaming across her lab screens. She had spent her life studying atmospheric physics. She knew what storm turbulence looked like. This was not turbulence. "These objects are riding the pressure differential inside the eye wall," she said quietly. "They're using the storm to mask their entry." On a ship far beyond Earth's atmosphere, the alien fleet leader observed the planet below through layers of spectral analysis. The planet's oceans churned violently. Electrical storms blanketed entire continents. Atmospheric instability registered beyond acceptable colonization thresholds. Conclusion: the alien commander transmitted to his subordinates. Native species survival probability during planetary turbulence, low. Resistance capacity, compromised. Optimal invasion window confirmed. Dropships detached from the mothership, slipping into the hurricane's spiral. Back on Earth, lightning struck the Atlantic in blinding forks. The first alien craft pierced through the storm wall like dark metal seeds falling into chaos. Emergency sirens howled across the coastline. "This is not a drill," the broadcast repeated. "Unidentified aerial phenomena confirmed entering restricted airspace." Commander Ward exhaled slowly. The storm outside shook reinforced glass. They picked the worst night in American history to show up. But he wasn't afraid of the hurricane. He was afraid of what had chosen to hide inside it. Alien dropships began descending toward flooded suburbs and abandoned beaches. Their hulls shimmered with adaptive shielding, deflecting rain like an invisible dome. Then lightning struck one directly. For a fraction of a second, its shields flared violently. "Doctor." Armitage leaned forward. "Their electromagnetic stabilization isn't calibrated for chaotic charge patterns." On the alien flagship, warning glyphs flickered across command displays. External interference rising beyond prediction models. "Adjust shielding," the alien leader ordered. Below, hurricane winds slammed against the descending craft, pushing them off trajectory. One spun briefly before correcting. Another drifted dangerously close to a radio tower before stabilizing. Commander Ward watched the live feed. "They think this storm weakens us," he muttered. Outside, American cities were dark, but not defeated. Emergency crews were still moving. Military units were still mobilizing. Civilians were still helping one another board windows and secure shelters. The hurricane roared. The alien fleet descended. And for the first time, both species were about to discover which one understood chaos better. The hurricane made landfall at 9:42 p.m., and with it came the invasion. Wind tore roofs from houses and hurled them like paper into the night, while sheets of rain reduced visibility to almost nothing. The ocean surged over seawalls and swallowed streets whole. In the middle of that violent collision between sea and sky, the alien dropships attempted to establish control over a planet that had never promised to be gentle. They miscalculated immediately. Their descent patterns, precise in vacuum, faltered in rotating wind shear. Two craft stabilized above a flooded boulevard, lowering mechanical infantry into knee-deep water that churned with debris. Another ship hovered over a coastal highway, scanning for organized resistance. What it found instead was lightning, forked, blinding, unpredictable. A bolt split the sky and struck the edge of its shield grid. The impact did not destroy the vessel, but the flare rippled across its surface like a wound. American fighter jets launched from an inland base the moment radar windows opened between storm bands. They flew low, using the hurricane's dense cloud cover as camouflage. Rain hammered their cockpits, turbulence shook their wings, yet their pilots had trained in worse simulations. They were not fighting the storm, they were navigating it. When they breached the outer wall of wind, they locked onto thermal distortions in the sky and fired. Missiles streaked upward, vanishing into black clouds before detonating against alien hulls. One dropship faltered, its propulsion array flickering. It tilted, fought for balance, then crashed into a deserted shopping complex already half-flooded by storm surge. The explosion lit the rain like daylight for a single heartbeat before darkness swallowed it again. On the ground, armored vehicles rolled through waterlogged intersections, engines roaring against the wind. Soldiers moved in coordinated units, using overturned buses and collapsed signage as cover. The aliens advanced with disciplined formation, their weapons emitting concentrated pulses that shattered concrete and carved through steel barricades. The exchange was brutal and immediate. Buildings already weakened by hurricane force began to crumble under crossfire. Glass and metal rained down into streets turned rivers. Above them, naval destroyers battled waves taller than their command towers. Radar struggled, signals bending under electromagnetic chaos, but targeting systems adapted. Deck guns fired into the sky at descending shapes that shimmered against lightning flashes. One alien craft attempted to deploy over open water, only to be struck by a rogue wave that slammed it sideways. The ocean did not distinguish between invader and defender. Still, the aliens pressed forward. Their infantry adapted quickly, recalibrating movement through unstable terrain. They learned to anchor themselves against wind gusts, to adjust for saltwater interference. Yet something in their formations betrayed hesitation. They had expected panic. They had expected collapse. Instead, they encountered coordination. Power grids failed across entire districts, but backup generators activated in hospitals and command centers. Civilians sheltered in reinforced structures built for storms exactly like this one. Emergency responders continued evacuations under fire, guiding families through flooded corridors as military units secured perimeters. The hurricane screamed across Florida, but humanity did not fragment. It tightened, and within the chaos of wind, rain, lightning, and war, the invaders began to understand that they had not arrived on a dying world. They had landed in the middle of one that had been surviving disasters long before they ever crossed the stars. By midnight, the hurricane had fully swallowed the coastline, but the invasion had stalled. The storm did not weaken. It intensified, as if the planet itself refused to yield the stage. Winds screamed through shattered high-rises, and rain fell so heavily it blurred the line between ocean and sky. In that suffocating chaos, the alien fleet began to lose its advantage. Their command signals fractured under relentless electromagnetic interference. Lightning struck not once, but repeatedly, crawling across shield matrices that had never been engineered for such erratic violence. Saltwater infiltrated damaged hull seams. Pressure fluctuations destabilized hovering craft. Every calculation they had made about atmospheric tolerance began to unravel in real time. Human forces adapted faster. Missile batteries recalibrated using live storm data, firing during brief lulls in wind shear. Fighter jets executed synchronized runs through corridors mapped by meteorologists only minutes before engagement. Naval vessels redirected their positioning, using the hurricane's circular momentum to predict alien drift patterns. What had seemed like natural chaos became, in practiced hands, a weapon. In the flooded streets, soldiers advanced block by block beneath torrential rain. Alien infantry attempted to fortify positions within commercial districts, but rising water levels forced them to higher ground, exposing their movements. Snipers, positioned in reinforced upper floors built to withstand hurricanes, capitalized on those shifts. Explosions echoed through waterlogged corridors as armored vehicles pushed forward, their engines struggling but unyielding. The alien fleet leader observed the battlefield from orbit, watching data collapse into uncertainty. Casualty projections exceeded acceptable margins. Planetary hostility ratings surged beyond invasion parameters. The species below did not behave as expected. Infrastructure failures did not translate into societal breakdown. Civilian panic did not paralyze defense networks. Instead, decentralized resilience appeared to strengthen response efficiency. Another dropship spiraled from the clouds, struck by a chain of lightning that cascaded across its propulsion grid. It plummeted into the Atlantic, swallowed instantly by waves the height of buildings. Signal loss followed. For the first time since arrival, the alien commander paused before issuing the next directive. Below, coordinated human counterstrikes intensified. An experimental electromagnetic pulse device, disguised within a lightning surge analysis array, discharged during the storm's peak. The burst merged with natural electrical chaos, amplifying disruption across alien systems already strained by atmospheric instability. Shields flickered. Communication relays blinked offline. Targeting precision faltered. The invasion had depended on control. Control of airspace, control of infrastructure, control of fear. But the hurricane recognized no master, and humanity had learned to endure without control. For generations, coastal cities had rebuilt after devastation. Power grids had been redesigned. Emergency systems rehearsed relentlessly. Survival here was not extraordinary, it was routine. Alien retreat protocols initiated in staggered sequence. Damaged craft withdrew first, rising through spiraling clouds toward orbit. Ground forces disengaged, abandoning partially secured positions as floodwaters consumed them. The fleet reassembled beyond the storm's outer bands, holding distance from the violent atmosphere below. As dawn approached, the hurricane began its slow migration inland, weakening only slightly as it tore through what remained of the night. Fires still burned. Buildings still leaned precariously against broken foundations. The cost had been severe. But the planet endured. From orbit, the alien commander transmitted a final assessment. The world designated for easy conquest possessed environmental volatility beyond strategic tolerance. Its dominant species demonstrated adaptive resilience within catastrophic conditions. Further engagement risked unacceptable losses. The fleet turned away. When the storm finally passed, sunlight pierced broken clouds and illuminated a coastline battered but standing. Emergency crews emerged. Military units regrouped. Civilians stepped out from shelters to begin rebuilding yet again. They had chosen to invade during a storm. They left, fearing the world that survives them every year.